What if there were only 3 words capable of bringing your inner light back, even on days when everything feels lost? The question hangs in the air like a divine whisper, soft, intimate, able to cut through the dust of your thoughts and touch that hidden place where your soul still remembers how to shine. Sometimes all we need is exactly that. A question that opens a secret door inside us, a small crack through which hope can return. There are moments when the world feels too big, too heavy, too far from what our hearts long for. And yet, even in those shadowed moments, something is always calling us, something that never goes out. Picture yourself walking through a quiet field at dusk. The light is dim, the shapes start to blur, and you're not sure which way to go. That feeling of being lost is not yours alone. It belongs to all of humanity. At some point, every one of us feels life slipping through our fingers like sand we can't hold on to. We all carry days when our chest aches without shape, when the horizon fades its colors, when the soul whispers, "I don't know where to go anymore." And still, in the very same moments, a spark remains alive, hidden maybe, but never gone. It was for moments like these that great spiritual teachers came into the world. Jesus Christ walked among people who felt lost, offering not just answers but presence. He knew that words, when illuminated by love and truth, could become a compass pointing inward. "I am the light of the world," he said, not boasting of his own radiance, but reminding others that the real light was already within them, waiting to be seen. For Jesus, the word was a tool of healing, guidance, and rebirth, a bridge between who we are and who we can still become. So when we speak of 3 words that can reorganize the soul, we're not talking about tricks, magic, or empty phrases. We're talking about something deeper, older, more intimate. Words that work not because they have power of their own, but because they awaken the power already inside you. The same power Jesus pointed to every time he said, "Fear not." Every time he invited someone to rise, to walk, to be renewed. Words that reignite what fear dimmed, that reorder what pain scattered. These 3 words exist. They're simple, luminous, and you may have said them before without realizing it, but their true power only reveals itself when understood spiritually, when spoken with an awakened heart, when whispered like a prayer that clears a path. In this video, you will discover what they are. More than that, you'll understand how each one creates an inner movement capable of bringing the light back. So stay with me. Walk with me along this quiet road where the shadows begin to dissolve. Something is waiting for you. And when you hear these 3 words, you may realize that you were never truly lost, only distant from yourself. There was a man who walked the streets as if carrying the weight of a world no one else could see. His name could be anyone's, yours, mine, because his story is the story of every heart that has ever felt adrift. He woke up each day with the sense that something inside him had gone dark. The sparkle in his eyes had faded, the sound of his own voice felt distant, and the future. The future was nothing more than a thick fog that made even the next step hard to see. Life, once vibrant, had become a sequence of grey tones, as if the hours passed without meaning and the days no longer belonged to him. At night, when everything grew quiet, the darkness inside him became louder. His room felt bigger, colder, emptier. The whole world seemed to drift away, and with it came the painful feeling that God had gone silent too. He couldn't explain it, but he felt as though he'd lost permission to dream. The things that once gave him purpose had dissolved into dust. It was like walking through an inner desert, vast, dry, lonely, where every gust of wind brought memories of who he used to be, but couldn't seem to become again. What he didn't realize, though, was that God had not stepped away for a single moment. The light had not disappeared. It had only been covered by the heavy clouds of his own mind. In moments like these, when we believe we're alone, we most need to remember, disconnection doesn't come from heaven. It comes from the heart. That was true for him. And it was in that aching emptiness that life prepared the encounter that would change everything. On an especially grey morning, while walking without really looking around, he noticed an old man sitting on a simple bench under the shade of an ancient tree. The man looked as though he were waiting for someone, though no one else was around. When the weary man passed by, the old man watched him with deep, knowing eyes, eyes that seemed to see past appearances, straight into the soul. Then, with a calm and gentle voice, he asked, "How long have you been running from yourself?" The question struck like lightning. He had never seen that old man before. There was no logical explanation for it. But something inside him opened, as though someone had lit a candle in a dark room. The old man smiled and gestured for him to sit. Without really knowing why, he did. And there, on that quiet bench, a conversation began that would change his life. The old man spoke about the nights that reshape us, about the spiritual deserts we all walk through, and about the silence of God that is often just the echo of our own inner silence. He said the human soul becomes disordered easily, but it can always find its way back. Then he said something the man would never forget. "Words are anchors, my son." Jesus knew that. He didn't heal only with his touch. He healed with the right word, spoken at the right moment, with the right intention. Do you remember what he said? "I am the light of the world." That wasn't just about him. It was about us. About the light we carry and forget. A shiver ran down the man's spine. Part of him recognized that truth, like something he had always known but never dared listen to fully. The old man continued, "When you feel lost, it's not because the light has gone out. It's because you've turned your face away from it. But there is a way back. There are words that realign the heart with God. 3 simple words, but deep enough to reorganize even the densest chaos." Then something extraordinary happened. The old man closed his eyes for a moment, took a deep breath, and said that one day the man would understand these words, that they would be his lighthouse when everything felt unbearably dark. But he did not reveal them, not yet. He said they would come when his heart was ready. "They'll come to you like a whisper from God," he said. In the days that followed, the man noticed subtle changes. Not sudden miracles, not cinematic transformations, just small sparks. A little more calm upon waking, a little more clarity while walking, a little more hope when he looked at the sky. It was as if that conversation had planted a spiritual seed quietly beginning to grow. Then, one night, while walking under a starry sky, something shifted. The wind felt as though it were calling his name, and the air filled with a sense of presence. Then, almost imperceptibly, 3 words appeared in his mind: soft, radiant, powerful. It wasn't imagination or exhaustion. It was as if they came from somewhere between heaven and heart. These words would mark the beginning of his transformation, not because they contained magical power, but because they awakened a deeper truth inside him, that God never abandons, that life always offers new beginnings, that the light can return, always, when we choose to walk toward it. And so he realized these 3 words were not just a reminder but a doorway to healing, to presence, to self-encounter, a doorway that would change everything from that moment on. There is a profound reason why 3 simple words can transform someone's inner state. It's not just poetry, not just psychology, not just faith. It's the meeting point where spirit, mind, and heart realign to remember who we truly are. Jesus Christ, as he walked among the people, didn't simply teach doctrines. He spoke words that opened space inside the soul. He said, "Your faith has made you whole." He said, "Rise." He said, "Thy will be done." Every word was an invitation for the person to awaken to their own light. Before revealing the 3 words in this story, we must understand the sacred nature of the word, the ancient power of what we speak. From ancient times, the idea of the word appears as the foundation of creation itself. In the Christian tradition, it is written, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." The word is not merely sound, it is intention, direction, purpose. It is spiritual substance shaping inner reality. When Jesus spoke, his voice didn't reach only the ears, it reached the heart. His words reorganized thoughts, emotions, and perceptions, and that reorganization was the beginning of healing. Many spiritual traditions say that words are bridges between the unseen and the seen. The Stoics said that divine reason, the logos, permeates everything. The Desert Fathers taught that a word is like breath, fanning a fading ember back to life. In ancient Indian teachings, Sound, especially intentional sound, is a vibrational force that reorganizes inner energy. Different languages, same truth. Words hold power because they awaken what sleeps within. When someone feels lost, it's usually not life that loses meaning. It's the mind that loses orientation. Thoughts scatter like leaves in the wind, and the heart shrinks trying to shield itself from pain. In that state, everything feels larger than it is. Small doubts become storms. Simple situations become mountains. A person can't distinguish reality from the shadows cast by fear. And that is where a word can act like a lighthouse, not by changing the external world, but by illuminating the internal path so the world can be seen more clearly. The three words in this story work exactly like that. They call you back to your center. And when we say center, we mean what Jesus always pointed to, the inner axis where the divine presence dwells, that silent, serene, indestructible space where nothing can separate us from the love of God. When we speak words with sacred meaning, it is as if we begin the journey back to that place. We breathe again, we feel again, we listen again. There is a spiritual physics at play, not in the scientific sense, but in the sense that everything in us vibrates. Thoughts, emotions, intentions, all have frequency. Words spoken with faith shift that frequency. They influence the body, calm the nervous system, brighten the mind, steady the heart. This is why conscious repetition, present in almost every spiritual tradition, is so powerful. Not because it repeats, but because it reorganizes. Each repetition becomes a brick in the building of a new inner reality. Imagine being in the middle of an emotional storm. The strong wind is fear, the dark sky is doubt, the heavy rain is anxiety. You try to see your path, but everything is distorted. Then suddenly, someone lights a small candle. The light is dim, but just enough to guide your steps. That is how sacred words work. Tiny flames restoring direction in the chaos. Not the end of the storm, but the beginning of the crossing. In the Gospels, we see Jesus retreating into the wilderness in silence. There he faced not only external challenges, but internal ones. The desert is a universal symbol of self-encounter, the place where masks fall and truth reveals itself. And yet, it is in the desert that the voice of God becomes clearest. When we feel lost, it is as if we are in our own desert. But that desert is not punishment. It is invitation to find God within. The three words in this story arise as a response to that invitation. They are not formulas. They don't promise to solve everything. They don't erase all pain, but they do something greater. They ignite a flame inside the heart, a flame that guides, warms, reassures. A flame whispering, "You're not alone." A flame reminding you the light can always return. Have you noticed that in life's hardest moments, we instinctively speak to ourselves? Sometimes we say, "You can do this," or "Stay strong," or "Just breathe." We do this without realizing we are reorganizing our inner world through words. It is instinctive, human, but when we consciously choose words with spiritual purpose, the effect multiplies. It's like opening the windows of the soul and letting fresh air clear out the dust left by life's storms. The three words you're about to learn function exactly like that. They remind your soul that there is a way forward, that there is a presence that never leaves, that there is a light that never goes out. They represent an inner covenant with the divine, a quiet alliance between your human fragility and God's eternal strength. And the more we reflect on this, the more we understand why words can move inner mountains. Jesus said, "Let not your heart be troubled." He wasn't just comforting, he was instructing. He was teaching that the heart becomes troubled because it believes the shadows. But when truth enters, it calms, and truth often reaches us in the form of simple words touched by grace. So before revealing them, let this understanding settle. Words are seeds. When planted in the fertile soil of an open heart, they become trees that sustain life. When spoken with faith, they become bridges from shadow to light. We are approaching the moment of revelation. And when we get there, you'll see that these three words are not instructions. They are path, presence, and direction. Just as one candle lights another without losing its flame, These words will ignite something inside you. Just as a window opens after a storm to let sunlight back in, these words will open the space where hope can breathe again. And just as Jesus guided every person he met with love, these words will guide you back to the place where your soul remembers who you are. Prepare yourself. The revelation is near. And when it comes, you may realize that the light never stopped shining. It was simply waiting to be seen again. The 3 words that can bring your inner light back are not magic formulas or pre-written phrases found in a spiritual manual. They are doorways, invitations, sacred reminders that echo the voice of God when the heart is too tired to listen. And now, after all this inner preparation, it's time to reveal them not just as sound but as experience. The 3 words are I am here, breathe and trust, follow the light. The first, I am here, carries the echo of divine presence. When you speak it, you're not just affirming your existence, you're acknowledging the God who walks with you. It's a reminder that you aren't lost, only disconnected. I am here anchors you. It brings you into the present moment, into the space where God touches your life right now. It is the word of return, the first step towards seeing again. The second, breathe and trust, is a spiritual embrace. How many times did Jesus say, fear not? How many times did he invite his disciples to trust even when the waters rose around them? Trust is not the absence of fear. It is choosing to walk despite it. When you take a deep breath, your body signals your spirit. You are safe. And when, through that breath, you say, trust, you open space for God to work within you. This phrase is a bridge, the moment when the storm begins to calm, not because it disappears, but because you've found stillness inside it. The third, follow the light, is movement. After anchoring yourself in the present and surrendering fear to trust, you're ready to follow the path God illuminates. Follow the light reminds you that the light never truly disappears. It may hide behind doubt, but it always returns for those willing to walk toward it. When Jesus said, "Come, follow me," he was saying exactly this. Follow the light, follow love, follow the path that frees. This phrase transforms presence and surrender into purposeful action. Now imagine applying these 3 words in moments of anxiety, fear, or confusion. When your mind begins to race, you close your eyes and whisper, "I am here," and the spiral breaks. You return to yourself, to God, to solid ground. Then, with a slow, deep breath, you say, "Breathe and trust," and you feel your chest loosen, your tension melt, the divine presence draw near. Then, when calm returns, you murmur, "Follow the light." And suddenly, even without all the answers, you see a path before you. Maybe narrow, maybe quiet, maybe simple, but real. A powerful way to use these words is this. Place your hand over your heart, close your eyes, and inhale deeply. As you inhale, say inwardly, "I am here." Hold the breath for 2 seconds, letting the body absorb the presence. As you exhale, whisper, "Breathe and trust." Let the phrase flow out with the breath, carrying away the heaviness pressing you down. When the cycle ends, open your eyes gently and say, as if making a sacred vow, "Follow the light." Do this 3 times. The shift inside is real. The soul returns to alignment. You can also turn these words into prayer. Picture yourself kneeling, facing a pain you can't explain, and whisper, "I am here." Feel God respond, "I am here too." Then say, "Breathe and trust," as you place your fear into Christ's hands. And finally declare it with gentle resolve, "Follow the light, stepping toward hope." To make this even more vivid, imagine someone in a moment of crisis, someone crying silently, believing they have no strength left. This person takes a deep breath and says the words one by one. At first, their voice trembles, but with each repetition, the heart settles, the mind clears, and a warm feeling fills their chest. Not an instant miracle, but the return of light, the return of presence, the return of themselves. Because these words don't just illuminate, they realign the soul with God. Life sometimes changes in small, quiet ways, like a tiny flame being rekindled inside someone without any noise at all. That's what happened to Claire. For months, she lived imprisoned by fear, fear of losing everything, fear of not being enough, fear of herself. Until one dawn, overwhelmed by panic, she placed her hand over her heart and whispered, "I am here." Then she breathed slowly and said, "Breathe and trust." Finally, through drying tears, she murmured, "Follow the light." That night she didn't solve all her problems, but she slept for the first time in weeks. The light had returned, small but real. Michael's struggle was different. He had lost his faith. Life felt heavy, and the silence of God hurt like absence. One afternoon, wandering aimlessly, he felt compelled to try the 3 words he'd heard someone mention. He stopped near a tree, closed his eyes, and said, "I am here." A soft warmth spread through his chest, like a homecoming he didn't expect. "Breathe and trust," he continued, allowing himself a moment of surrender. Then, almost whispering, he finished, "Follow the light." That afternoon, his faith didn't fully return, but something stirred, like Jesus touching his shoulder and saying, "Fear not." Emily faced a quieter kind of darkness, a sadness without a clear name. She felt herself sinking into heavy thoughts, believing she'd never rise again. In a quiet moment of desperation, she repeated the 3 words as if grasping a final thread of hope. With each repetition, the darkness lost some of its grip. Light returned, not as an explosion, but as a sunrise. When she opened her eyes, she felt a gentle certainty. The darkness was not eternal, and Jesus, as always, had been beside her. Returning to the light, few expressions hold as much spiritual and philosophical meaning. Light is not just brightness, it is direction, presence, awareness, the place where the soul returns when it remembers who it truly is. When we say someone has returned to the light, we speak of reunion. The person has come back to that inner axis where God quietly dwells, even when everything else seems to be falling apart. Jesus said, "Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." Not just a spiritual promise, but a profound revelation about human nature. We all carry divine light, though we sometimes forget to look toward it. And the truth is this: every one of us walks through darkness sometimes, moments when the heart grows heavy, when the mind becomes a labyrinth, when hope hides behind internal mountains. There is no shame in this, no failure. Even Jesus, in his desert moments, faced silence, temptation, and loneliness. The question is not whether we enter darkness, but whether we learn not to live there. And for that, the word becomes a thread of light guiding each step. The 3 words, "I am here," "breathe and trust," "follow the light," were never meant to solve problems, but to realign the heart before them. They are spiritual reminders that God's presence never leaves us, even when we can't feel it. "I am here" brings you back to the now, the place where God meets you. "Breathe and trust" calms the inner storm, letting your spirit hear what anxiety tries to drown out. "Follow the light" restores direction, reignites purpose, opens the way for inspired action. And when we speak these words, something profound happens. We create inner space for truth to enter, not the truth of circumstances, but the truth of the soul, the truth Jesus revealed every time he said, "Your faith has made you whole." Faith is not merely believing, it is aligning, breathing, trusting, walking toward the light, even when the eyes still see darkness. So as you listen to this video, let each of these words resonate within you like a soft bell ringing in the distance. Notice what you feel when you whisper, "I am here." Feel your body relax as you repeat, "Breathe and trust." Sense something awaken when you declare, "Follow the light." The combination of word and faith is far more powerful than we imagine. It doesn't just illuminate, it transforms. Slowly, you'll realize that the light never left. It was simply waiting for you to open the curtains of the soul so it could return with quiet strength. Because returning to the light is returning to yourself, to God, to the place where your story continues. There are days when a single word can change the course of your whole day. And there are moments when 3 words can change the course of a life. If you've come this far, something in you has already begun to move. Maybe it's a spark, maybe a flame, but it's real. The light is returning, not as a blinding flash, but as a sunrise slowly brightening the horizon, then the path, then the entire heart. This is the final invitation. Allow that light to stay. The 3 words, I am here, breathe and trust, and follow the light, are not just a spiritual mantra. They are a path back to your center, to the purpose God placed inside you from the beginning. When spoken sincerely, they align your soul with the divine presence, reminding you that even in your darkest nights, there is always direction. Jesus said, I came that they may have life, and have it abundantly. Abundant life doesn't mean a life without challenges. It means fullness even in the midst of them. It means walking with courage, because the light that guides you is not your own, it's His. As you integrate these words into your journey, you'll find they become more than phrases, they become companions. In moments of anxiety, they ground you. In moments of doubt, they soothe you. In moments of weakness, they remind you that strength exists both above you and within you. And above all, they remind you that there is always a light waiting to be followed, even if it appears only as a faint glimmer on the horizon. So before we close, imagine this final scene. You are walking down a dark hallway. Ahead of you, a small flickering flame appears. You take one step, then another. With each step, the flame grows. The darkness doesn't vanish completely, but it loses the power it once held because the light has returned, and now it walks with you. This is the cinematic ending of your journey. You guided by something greater, following a light that never dies, no matter how the world around you shifts. Now I ask you, with all the emotional and spiritual weight of this message, what did you feel when you heard these words? Write it in the comments, share your experience. Let this space become a sanctuary of transformation for everyone who arrives here. And if these 3 words touched your heart, share this video with someone who may need them. The light that returns to you can return to others too.